Hi, everybody. Hopefully you can see me. I have 2 red springs on, the foot bar down, universal settings, the long box on. If you have a small ball, that'd be great. And then some light hand weights, like less than 3 pounds, unless you're super strong, and then you could use heavier. That's all we need. Okay. So we're gonna get started. Thanks for joining me. We'll just start moving with the long box, and we'll use these as we go. So start with all of these props and sit on the end of the box with the ball between your inner thighs and the weights in your hands. Sorry, I have to admit someone. Okay, so we're starting with the arms reaching forward, and just protract and retract a couple times. So you're widening between your shoulder blades and then drawing the shoulder blades back towards each other behind you, and widening between the shoulder blades, drawing the shoulder blades back towards each other. Just getting the shoulder blades moving a little bit, and then start to go a little bit faster so that it's continuous. And then one arm and the other, so you're doing opposition. One's protracting as the other's retracting. You're just gently squeezing against the ball. There's lots of box space behind you for what's coming next. And then you're gonna pause the arms, round or spin the pelvis underneath you to roll back, squeezing into the ball. Your feet definitely should not leave the surface. Scooping through the abs, one arm is gonna go up, one arm is gonna go down. And then you're scissoring here. Obviously a little bit more work with heavier weights. So you decide what resistance you need. Just kind of warming up our shoulder girdle, getting our abdominals turned on, and trying to open up through the front of the pelvis, get some movement in the hip joints. And then you're gonna reach the arms back forward and sit back up and stack. And then round the pelvis under. Try not to sink down into it as you roll back. Lift the arms up and circle them around. As you lift up, inhale, keep sliding the ribs towards the pelvis. And breathing through the back and the sides of the ribs so that you're keeping the front of the body kind of shortened. And one more time, up and around, and then the arms come back forward as you stack back up. Put your hands on your knees, bend your elbows, and just extend your spine, opening across the collarbone, however that feels good to you, and then release back to neutral. So you're gently pulling against your knees, bend your elbows to use that retraction of the scapula to help you open across the front of the collarbones. And then sit back up tall. One more time. Pull against the knees, open across the collarbones, and then lengthen back. And reach the arms forward again, round back through the lower back. One arm is gonna open to the side without any rotation, and then back to the center. The other arm opens. You're not shifting, you're not rotating, you're just horizontally abducting and adducting, or opening across the horizontal, not letting yourself move beyond your scapular stability, trying to get those obliques working a little bit. Nice. You should feel your abdominals working to hold you here. If you don't, something's not happening that should. And you could think of lengthening into that curve a little bit more of the spine. Once you're even, come back up to sitting. And then round back again, squeeze into the ball. One arm is gonna open, you're gonna rotate your torso, come back to the center. So it's the same movement, but you can go further because you're allowing the torso to rotate. Should feel obliques in a different way than you did before. And rotating through the torso, rotating through the rib cage, pelvis is staying square to the front. One more each side. And last one, and come back to the center. You can just set the weights down on the platform and set the ball down on the springs is fine. We don't need it right now. So make sure there's lots of box space behind you. When you lay down, the bottom tip of your shoulder blade you want near the back of the box. So you're either gonna roll down. If you can't roll down without crashing, grab behind one leg and roll down. What you don't want is that you lose your abdominal connection at the bottom. If your feet lift off the ground, then you would also want to lift one leg to roll down. Try not to kick the leg out to come up and down. It's an articulation of the spine. It's not leverage. So no crashing, sliding ribs to hips. Yeah, try not to kick the leg to come up. And if you're using one leg, try the other leg, rounding down. Nod the chin, keep that flexion through the upper spine so that you're using the abdominals and protecting your neck, not tensing the neck to come up and down. One more time of however you're doing this. Obviously, you don't have to go all the way down. You go down as far as you can manage. Once you get down at the bottom, stay there. Hands come behind the head. One leg comes to tabletop, then the other. You can either just stay and hold, or you can do your single leg stretch here, pressing out through one leg, connecting through the abdominals, staying lifted, exhaling as you reach the leg out, only taking the leg as far away from you as you can maintain the upper body in that flexed position. One more each side. And grab behind one leg, drop the other leg to roll yourself back up. Sitting up nice and tall, put your hands on your knees. This time, open your knees and your upper spine into a little bit of extension. And then bring your knees back together, lift one leg, start to roll back. Once you get down there, lift the other leg up to tabletop. If you can bring the hands behind the head, that would be great. Stay there, and you're gonna go into some toe taps, lowering one leg down towards the platform, only as far as you can keep the abdominal connection. So just because you have all that extra space that you can go into below the box doesn't mean you have to. You wanna make sure you're keeping your imprint and the upper body in that flexed position, exhaling, flattening from hip bone to hip bone. One more on each side. And last one. Grab behind one leg, drop the other leg, use the leg to come all the way back up. Great. So then come up to standing, and you'll stand at the end of the reformer. You can just tuck the ball somewhere. Probably one red spring will work for everyone. So if you're standing at the end of the reformer, my shins are really close to the platform. I'm gonna do a spine stretch forward standing, so nod the chin, start to roll forward. Once my hands can make contact with the box, that's great. Then bend the knees and from tail to head, lengthen out into one long line. The box comes back in, and from tail to head, you're gonna stack back up through the spine. And you nod the chin, you roll forward. Once you get out there, you're gonna bend the knees, reach out through the tail and the head, so that the upper body isn't really far below the pelvis. Yeah, and then curl the pelvis under to start to roll back up, pushing the floor away and stacking back up tall. Good. Nod the chin, roll through the spine, lengthen out. This is like on your Cadillac push-to bar. Once you're there, stay there and just bend and press the arms. Elbows don't point straight side or straight down. They're somewhere in the middle. So they're that 45-degree line of scaption place. Bend and press. As your arms straighten, make sure your shoulders aren't lifting up towards your ears, that you're keeping that connection through the bottom of the shoulder blade, and you're getting upward rotation and downward rotation of the scapula versus elevation, or the shoulders lifting towards the ears. Last one, the arms straighten out, round the pelvis under, roll the hips up, and stack back up. One more time, you're gonna roll through the spine, start to press your hands out onto the box like you did before. Lift the sternum, come up into extension of your upper back as much as you can. Hold that extension, bend your elbows and see if you can lift yourself into a little more extension through the upper back. Yeah, by bending the elbows, you're getting more retraction. Then push the box out away, round the spine, ground yourself down through the legs, push the floor away, the carriage comes in, and you stack all the way back up. Then you're gonna come to laying on the box. If you can take the ball somewhere that you'll be able to put it between your ankles, that would be excellent. So once you're laying on the box, lengthen your legs out behind you. Feel really long through the spine. Hands are just resting at the side of the carriage. You're going to start with your upper body flexed over the front of the box. The legs are very active. You're gonna lengthen out through the upper back and then start to connect between the shoulder blades. Lift yourself up into a little bit of extension through the upper back. The bottom ribs stay down. Then you lengthen and you flex over the front of the box. So you're not pushing with your hands and you're just doing upper back extension, which we all wanna skip because our lower back curve already curves in that direction. So it's easy to wanna just skip over the upper back and go into the lower back. But we're trying to change that kind of upper back posture. So feel like you're moving right around where the bra strap is and not below that. And then if you'd like to add the straps, you can take the straps off the shoulder rests. And then hold up onto the ropes only as high as you can keep your connection through your shoulders. Start to pull the arms down, lengthen through the spine. Think of retracting the scapula as the arms come up and you come into thoracic extension. Lengthen back through the spine and flex forward. Do that a couple times on your own timing, pulling up on the low abs, not sinking into the lower back. It's not just an arm exercise, it's a spine exercise. So you're trying to think of actively involving the spine, trying to retract through the scapula, not just skipping the spine and turning it into not that hard of an arm exercise if the spine doesn't follow. Yeah, keep connected through the low abs. Feel that retraction of your upper back. 2 more. Keep pulling up on the low abs like there's a blueberry under your belly button. You're trying to not squish. And then the pinky side of the hand is pointed up when you're back by your hips. You're gonna hit your neutral spine and stay in neutral as you pull your arms back towards your hips. Bend and straighten your elbows a few times. At your sides, you're in neutral, pulling up on the low abs, feeling that retraction of your shoulder blades so the shoulders aren't rolling forward. 4 more. Keep pulling up on the abs. And last one. And then letting the arms go back forward. You can get rid of the ropes, drop the ball, separate the legs, and reach the arms forward on the rail so that what you're ending up in is kind of a narrow X shape. So you're gonna reach out through the crown and the head, reach out through the arms and the legs, and then one arm and the opposite leg floats a little higher in your swimming prep. Try to only go as big as you can, keep the knees straight and the opposition happening. You can go faster than I am, you can go slower than I am. Use your breath to help you. And 2 more nice full breaths. And then reach into one long line, lower yourself back down, slide off to the side of the box. And you're going to switch to the half spring is probably gonna work for everybody. So we were on 1 red, now we're on a half. And come to your hands and knees for a minute. I'm gonna do a couple different versions of leg pulling strap, but for now, no straps. So try not to shift your weight forward, center yourself between your upper and your lower body. And you're gonna reach your leg out behind you. Once your leg is straight, make sure your pelvis is level. Take your foot towards the side of the reformer and then up and back. As you do this, try not to shift forward. So it shouldn't feel like tons of weight through the wrists and the arms. And then if you can, add the opposite arm reaching forward, harder to balance. Obviously, you don't have to add that. Down and up and back and down and up and back. 2 more. Lengthening through the spine. And last one. And then bringing that leg in. Make sure if you've chosen to reach your arm up, it's not shoulder by the ear, that you're in your scapular stability. And reaching your leg out behind you, level the pelvis, leg goes to the side, and you press up and back. Down to the side, lift up and back. As you do this a couple times, you're not lifting so far that you go into extension. Keep that sense of length and pulling up through the waist. Connect to your shoulder stability if you decide to lift the opposite arm. Feeling the pelvis staying as level as possible. Trying to not bounce around too much. Using the opposition of the head and the pelvis to create more stability. So you lengthen into opposition to help you stabilize. One more time. And then bringing your leg back in, bring your knees underneath you, and just do a little rounding of your spine. If standing is better for you, or cat stretch, feel free to do that instead. Good. Okay, so then find your straps and put them on the top of the shoulder rest just so that you'll be able to get them if they're not already there. And you're gonna lay back down on your stomach. So slide your whole thigh on, chest over the front of the box. And you're just gonna take one strap and connect into your length. The other hand can be on the front of the carriage by the shoulder rest, or at your forehead's a lot harder. So start with it by the shoulder rest. Lift your arm up towards horizontal. You're in neutral, stay in neutral, pull your arm out to the side and towards your hip, and then reach back overhead. And pull your arm to the side and reach back. And to the side. So you're doing your airplane, but with just one arm. So it should feel like you have to use your abdominals a little bit more to help you stabilize. The closer your legs are together, the more you have to work to keep the legs in the center. 2 more. Obviously, you guys know you can adjust the spring tension. See if you can activate your legs so that the feet aren't just kind of flopped out there, but that you're really reaching through the legs. The ankles are pointed, the glutes are engaged. More legs ginge. And then put the strap back on the shoulder rest, grab the other side and activate the legs. Arm pulls back, palm is facing the floor the whole time, trying to tap into that upward and downward rotation. Only go as far as you can stay open across the front of the shoulder. Legs are active. Should see those glutes and hamstrings working. Nice. So you're probably holding up near that metal clip where the rope and the clip meet each other. No side bending, so keep your torso in the center. Anita, try holding on to the side of the carriage near the shoulder rest. Yeah, there. Somewhere there should help you stabilize. Last one. And then bringing the carriage all the way back in and come off the box. And we're gonna put the straps actually onto the floor so they're out of the way. Put the headrest down We're gonna come back to some legs pulling straps in a bit, but put the short box on and your short box settings. If you don't know what your short box settings are, try your footwork settings, at least 2 springs, and then try this D-ring, the middle D-ring. And if that's not quite right, we'll adjust from there. So how you know if you're in the right spot is by sitting on the box, putting your feet underneath the strap. Should be able to have a little bend in the knee, the strap not super tight to start, and then that there's at least 2-3 inches behind you on the box. So if you need to move a little bit, adjust the stopper. If you need to move a lot, then adjust the D-ring, because that's going to be a big change. So once you're there, stack your hands on top of each other and sit up really tall, lengthen through the spine. Try not to lean back in the start position. So sitting tall, pulling the back of the calf, the Achilles against the edge of the carriage, spin the pelvis underneath you, opening across through the front of the hips, lift the arms up overhead, and shorten ribs to hips to flex forward over the legs and stack up from tail to head. And again, round the pelvis, feel like your head's trying to stay the same height off the ground as you round back. And you lift the arms up overhead. Drop the arms forward, flex forward, and stack up from tail to head. And we'll add to that, round the pelvis under, roll back, reach the arms overhead. Once the arms overhead, stay there. Open your body by rotating towards one side and come back to the center. Keep scooping and hollowing out the abdomen and center one more each way. Rotate. Hands are just kind of gently pressing against each other to help you stabilize your shoulders. And center and come forward over the legs and stack back up to vertical. One more time. Round the pelvis underneath you, whichever way you rotated first, last. Go the other way first. This time. Nice, Martina. And rotate. And rotate, pull back on the low abs, trying to hollow out the abdomen. Rotate. And once you're even, come forward over your legs and stack up from tail to head. So then leave one foot in the strap, slide that foot over to the rail. So you're way forward, move your butt back so your butt is further back towards the back of the box. Obviously don't fall off of it, but most of us don't have 180 degrees turnout. So you have to move back enough that you can be relatively comfortable. Yeah, and your leg can hang off the edge if you have knee stuff going on. All right, so reach your arms out to the side and start by just stretching over towards the leg. Look at that foot a second. Is it turned out? Is your heel forward? That will be your lateral rotation. So we want that. Then sit back up and without going very far, tip a little bit and rotate your toes forward, your knees forward. And then sit back up to vertical and rotate that heel. So the part that I think people have the hardest time with is figuring out how to go between parallel and turnout. Seems easy, but it's not actually that easy. So you're not trying to turn your body. You're just leaning a little. Your toes need to point forward. So many of you still have your toes pointed up. Look down at that leg. It should be parallel. Close, and then coming back. Okay, so then reach the arms out to the side. Create one long diagonal with that parallel foot. Side bend towards the floor. Use your abdominals to come all the way back up. Rotate that leg turned out. Come up and over. And again, big reach, diagonal. Side bend towards the floor. Glutes help you, not hip flexors. And side bend towards the leg. And like you're throwing something. Then you slide bend. Then you lift up. And we'll do one more. Big throw up and overhead, side bend, lift, and going over to this other leg. Start the same way again. So you throw up and over, then rotating to your hawk position. So you're looking down, scoop the arm down through the rails, picking up something and coming back over. So some people talk about it like there's a nest by your foot. You go up and over the hawk. You scoop down, pick up your prey, and lift up and over. I don't know. I guess I'm vegetarian. I prefer like strawberries or something. Pick up some strawberries and come up and over. Yeah. One more time. We're getting some nice multi-dimensional movement through the upper body while we're using our obliques quite a bit. And then coming back. Slide your foot, your bottom foot behind the back of the ankle. It can be as high as the back of the calf, the top of the calf, but don't put it right behind your knee. This is a hard position, so squeezing your inner thighs together. Find one long line through your torso. You can have your hand on the box, it can be on the rail, or if you're strong enough, no rail. And then just do a little bit of a side bend towards the floor, then you lift back up into the straight line, not into a sunken rib position. So side bend towards the floor and straight line. Lots of glute here on this top side. Side bend and lengthen. 3 more, side bend. If you don't need to use that hand on the rail, don't use it. Some of you, like Martina, you're super strong. You could ditch that hand. I know it. Good, Ann. Last one. On the last one, use your abdominals and your hands to come all the way up so you're supporting yourself and protecting yourself. Okay, slip the other foot underneath. Leg comes forward, your hips go back. Your leg is gonna come into that bent position, or it can be hanging over the front of the box. Reach your arms out to the side. Side bend towards the leg that's under the strap, that straight leg, and then lift yourself up really tall. Rotate that top leg to parallel to go out into the diagonal. Side bend towards the floor. Lift yourself up. Spiral the leg so that it's out of the way and turns out as you go towards the straight leg. Then you come back up to where you started from and regroup. And you go up and over. Side bend towards the floor. Lift yourself up. Side bend towards the straight leg. Get taller. Throwing something with the top arm to create length. Side bend into the well of the reformer. Big lift up and over and towards the straight leg. 2 more. Big reach. Throw something. Side bend. Lift. Feel those obliques working. And come back up. And side bend. Lengthen. Lift. Up and over. And towards the straight leg. And regroup. We go into our hawk. Big reach up and overhead. Hawk towards the floor. So you're looking at the floor, rounding your upper back. Bottom arm scoops down. Scoop up your strawberries. Come up and over towards the straight leg. Sit back up tall to go again. Throw up and over. Rotate and flex. Reach the arm down. Lift up and over. And come back up to the start position. Last 2 times. Throw and hawk. Scoop something up between the rails. Come up and over towards the straight leg. And last time, throw something. Hawk up and over the rails. Scoop down through the rails. Reach away from yourself. And side bend towards the straight leg. Then slide your leg underneath the top leg. All the way up to towards the knee will be easier to balance. Down by the ankles, harder. You can either have your hand on the rail or the box or lift it the whole time. You're gonna do bow and arrow, so you're bowing towards the floor and then you're lifting to the diagonal. Bow towards the floor. Use your abs to lift you to one straight long line with the foot. And so from foot through the pelvis to the upper body, you're in a straight line versus letting the ribs sink down and kind of collapse. And you side bend and lift and side bend and lift. 3 more side bends. Lift to the diagonal and side bend. Lift to the diagonal, last one, side bend. And lift yourself all the way up. Use your arms to help you. Once you're sitting back up, you can safely dismount and then take and switch the box back to the long direction. The settings will probably be fine. I think for this, it won't matter too much. But let's switch to a half spring. And we're gonna go into our legs pulling straps, but a variation on it today. So you're on the box, hands and knees, set your foot down on the edge of the rail. And to get into the strap, try to get out of the habit of putting your knee down and twisting your leg like this. It's just a bad habit. So put the strap on one foot, reach your leg down and back. Once you get your leg behind you, level your pelvis, and then I want you to press your pelvis into a little rotation, then square your pelvis back off, trying to hold the hip the same height. So you're rotating your pelvis towards the floor, then rotating to the side a little bit. Yes, good. Towards the floor, to the side. Push down through the standing leg, and your hip, the hip of the leg that's in the strap will literally face towards the side as much as it can. So like rotate your pelvis, Martina, to the right. That's shifting. So think of pure rotation where you're doing this big motion, pushing the floor away, and try to press the floor. Yeah, that. Last one. Then hold that rotated position, bend your leg in and press your leg back out. If it's too much, rotate to parallel and do this in parallel. So rotated, you're slightly turned out, harder because there's more body parts away from the midline of the body. 4, 3, 2, and last one. Make sure you're not turning out from your knee. And then set that foot down, take the strap off, and switch to the other side. So we start with pushing out into the strap. Once you've pushed out into the strap, you're leveling and rotating the pelvis. You're thinking of really driving that motion from the standing hip. So the pelvis is level, then you push the floor away and you rotate it. Should feel pretty heavy, so you're trying to focus on that length as you reach the crown of the head away from the pelvis. Yeah, beautiful. Rotate. The leg more or less is staying where it is. The foot's not moving. Your pelvis is moving. So keep that leg up there, Anita, and just rotate your pelvis. Leave the leg where it is. And one more, either choose to do bend and stretch in parallel or in this turned out position, but stay connected to your standing hip. Long through the spine. 4 more. 4, 3, 2, and last one. And bring the leg in. Try not to twist your leg to get out of the strap. And you can set that down, come off to the side, and just pause for a minute. My guess is you're gonna need somewhere around 1 red spring. I'm gonna try 3/4. We're gonna have the strap in our hand, but it's just one arm. So you're gonna be laying on your side and your forearm is on the headrest and in that, like behind the shoulder rest. The arm will be up to the ceiling and you're pressing down. So I think 3/4 feels pretty heavy for me. So if you're wanting heavier or lighter, feel free to adjust. So as your arm presses down, you're gonna try to lift your legs and then lower to horizontal. Lift and lower. Stay in your stability through both shoulders. As your arm comes down, your legs go up. Nice. Trying to push the floor away through that bottom arm. Trying to find that neutral position so you're not just sinking through the bottom ribs here the whole time. You're trying to lift yourself up, pushing through the arm into the shoulder rest to connect that standing arm. One more time. Stay at your hip, bend and straighten the elbow so your arm will come forward and press towards straight towards the line of the leg, long through the spine. Obviously you can hold up higher on the rope if the rope is too long because we're in our footwork settings. 4, nice and controlled. 3, 2, last one. And then without going far, put the strap back on the shoulder rest and keep your arm there. Lift the legs up towards horizontal. If you can, reach the top arm up. If you feel like you're gonna fall, then just barely touch the box. One leg forward, one leg back, and switch. Both legs are straight, keeping your balance. And the faster you go, obviously, the harder it is to stabilize. Trying to not let the hips fall back and forth. 4, 3, 2, and last one. And then use your hands to sit back up. Good, roll over to the second side. Once you get to the second side, lay so that your arm is on the headrest and you have to kind of scooch towards the pulley into the reformer as much as necessary to make that all happen. Find your balance. Arm is above you but slightly in front of you, so you're in your line of scaption. Arm comes down, you're pushing the floor away. As the arm comes down, lift your legs a little, lower the legs to horizontal. Lift the legs to meet the arm, lower. And especially if you've lightened the springs, make sure it doesn't get kind of jerky, that you're still trying to move smoothly and take the whole time that you have to make all this happen. Nice and smooth. Press the floor away, lengthen, and lift the legs, lower, lift. Good. Last 2. And last one, keep the arm down by the sides, bend and straighten the elbow, tricep presses. The hand is coming forward of the body. Your shoulder is staying connected and back. Still pushing the floor away with that bottom arm. Four more. Try to find that connection into your tricep. Connect to the scapula. Scapula connects to the back of the ribs. One more. And then bring the strap back down and reach both legs out towards horizontal. If you can take the arm up, go for it. And then scissoring the legs in opposition, staying really stable. Scissor. Try to make the legs equally go in both directions. 3, 2, and last one. Use your hands to help you sit up safely and come off of the box. Good, take the box off and you can put it away, out of your way. And you're gonna bring the foot bar up and 1.5 springs. And if you have weights, then just one weight. These kind of longer skinny kind work really well because we're going to try to hold on to it, but the the toning ball works as well. But if you just set that on the front of your carriage and hold on to the foot bar to stand up onto the reformer, find your elephant position. This is super light springs to start. So you're in your elephant round back position, and just feel how light it is. And that as you press back, you can get some opening through the back of the calves, some length through the back of the legs. Not meant to be hard. As you press back, try to lift your toes a little bit so that you keep that stretch of the calf happening. As you come in, lift your toes as well to get a little bit more of that calf opening, rounding the back as much as you can. Good, then you can pause. You can transfer your weight to one side. You're gonna try to hold the weight behind the knee of one leg. If that's too much, just don't worry about it. Just bend your leg. And you're gonna lift and lower the leg, but keep round through the spine. Keep your pelvis over your standing foot. And then we're gonna take this into a little circle. So the knee goes out, down towards the other knee, out to the side, up a little, down towards the other knee. Your hips stay centered. 3, 4, try to work that standing hip. 5, one more, and then we reverse. 6, and reverse, pressing up and around. 6, 5, pushing as evenly as possible through both arms. One more. And then setting your leg down. If the weight falls on the carriage, no big deal. And then switch to the other leg. Bend the knee, hook it, and start with pelvis centered as possible over the foot, round through the back, lift and lower the leg, trying to keep the pelvis still. Feeling that standing hip working. One more, and then we go into our circles. And circle out, up towards the other knee, out to the side, up and around. Try not to let the elbows bend. So you're keeping your weight standing through both arms. One more. And reverse. Circle around. 6 and 5. Keep rounding through the spine. One more. And then drop the weight on the carriage. And go to high half toe position. Rounded through your back. Try not to flatten your back. And just do a couple elephant, more for the abdominal connection. So as you press out, pretty light. As you pull in, you're trying to scoop and round through the low spine. Scoop and round. Nice. Keep lifting those bottom ribs up. Try not to change the knees. So if you have to bend your knees a little bit, then you can, but don't bend and straighten them. Keep them in the same shape. One more time. And then set your knees down or step off to the side, whatever is safer for you. And from here, we're going to take, let's take the half spring off so you just have one red spring. And you're going to put one foot on this rail and the other foot against the shoulder rest. Find your balance and stand up on that front leg. You're in a very wide stance here. And so I just want you to open the back hip and then lengthen the spine, push and pull. Your fingertips are touching the bar. It helps to keep you low. As you're pushing and pulling, try not to sink down into it. Lift and lengthen the head is part of the spine. So get that neck in line with the rest of the body. One more time. Hold it out there. See if you can lift one hand Can you lift the other hand? Obviously, don't try this if it's too risky, because I can't catch you. And then bring the carriage back in. You can set the knee down, transfer that foot back to the shoulder rest. The other foot comes to the rail. You find that wide lunge stance and bend and press. Lengthen through the spine. Feel the neck long. Feel that glute, standing glute working to hold you up. 3, 2, last one, hold it there and either try to lift the hands off one at a time or keep them touching. And then bend the back leg, bring the carriage back in. Good, switch to 2 red springs and you're gonna be laying on your back. You can have the headrest adjusted, however it's most comfortable for you. You will need the straps, so adjust them as necessary to be able to get them. We're gonna put our feet in the straps. Once you get your feet in the straps, you can turn your legs out in your start position so you're laterally rotated. You can be either imprinting and moving to neutral, or you can be imprinted the whole time. Ribs stay, or you can be neutral the whole time, and the ribs are gonna stay connected and down. Let's just do some big leg circles to open up your legs a little bit more. Neutral as your legs come up, circling around. Neutral as the legs come up. Lengthening the pelvis. One more time. Neutral, ribs stay down, trying to not tip the pelvis, reverse. Turned out, you should be able to make the biggest leg circle of all of the options. If you feel your lower back kind of flattening down into the carriage as your legs are moving, then you're making it bigger than you can stabilize your pelvis in neutral. Usually that means don't come up so high to the ceiling. If you couldn't straighten your knees in elephant, then you probably won't be able to bring your legs straight up to the ceiling. You'll be more on a diagonal at your top height position because your hamstrings need to lengthen a little bit to go further up. Okay, so then turn your legs in, flex your feet, feel like you're almost overlapping your toes, your big toes, and then take smaller, tighter leg circles so they're not nearly as wide and they're more down on that diagonal. I'm just trying to feel some different three-dimensional strengths around the hip joint. Obviously, I don't want you to walk down the street like this. We're just strengthening some of those support muscles around the hip. Let's reverse. Internally rotated the whole time. The rotation is coming from inside the hip joint, not from the knees. Still in neutral, nice and smooth. And one more time. And then reach the legs out on the diagonal in parallel. Put the fingertips, like blades of your fingertips near your hip joints, and then let the legs come up, pressing gently into the front of the hip crease so that you get some length through the front of the hip flexors, and then push down from right at the sit bones. So the glute hamstring connection. Do that a couple times. Deep crease in the front of the hip and press through the back of the leg. And deep crease in the front of the hip. Connect to the glute hamstring, press back down through the back of the leg. 2 more, deep crease, feeling that softness in the front of the hip. And pressing down, and last one, deep crease, and pressing down. Now you don't need to use your hands unless you think that's helpful. Lift your legs up only as far as you can, keep your pelvis and ribs neutral. Open, close the legs twice. The second your legs get all the way open, close them using your inner thighs and then press down on the diagonal. So deep crease, open, carriage doesn't move, close, open, and close. Connect to the glute hamstring to press back down. 2 more like that, just a nice, gentle, active adductor or inner thigh stretch. 1 more time. And then bring your legs in, hold on to the ropes and kind of go into that happy baby pose. Make sure you're not gonna fall off the side. You can rock a little side to side, however it feels good to you. And then when you're ready, take the straps off your hands and you're gonna wiggle a little bit away from the shoulder rest. Keep the straps on your hands. I'm just getting rid of them so that I can watch you more easily. So reach your hands up towards the ceiling, imprint and lift one leg up to tabletop, then the other. You're gonna press your arms down, nod your chin, extend your arms and legs, and pump the arms into your hundreds. So inhaling and exhaling. Only taking the legs as low as you can stabilize. If you want to have the knees bent, you could. You also could keep the head down if that was better for your neck. So trying to feel that shortening of ribs towards the hips. 3 more sets, inhaling through the nose, exhaling through pursed lips. When you're done with this last set, bend your legs in and lower your upper body down, and then set one leg down and then the other. You can put the straps back, set the headrest all the way down flat, heels on the bar, parallel sits bones distance apart. Round the pelvis under and roll your hips up without moving the carriage. Open across the front of the hips. Then once you're there, press the carriage out, lowering the pelvis so you're still neutral. Lift the pelvis to come back in and then roll down through your spine. So your hip roll. So you roll the pelvis under. You could just roll right back down or push through the back of the legs, lower the pelvis so you're not in extension. Distance between ribs and hips in the front, stay the same. You pull all the way back in and then you articulate down through the spine, return the pelvis to neutral. Twice more, tipping towards the belly button, opening across the front of the hips. 1 continuous motion. You're not stopping at either end of the movement. Rolling through the spine to return back to neutral. Last time, tipping towards the belly button, opening up. Keep the rib hip connection, push out, pull back in, and then roll back down through your spine 1 vertebrae at a time. Cross one ankle over the opposite knee and grab behind the leg. Pull the leg in towards one shoulder, slightly release it, then towards the middle of your chest, slightly release it, then towards the other shoulder. And just tick through those motions, those directions a couple more times so you're just creating a little bit more of a push-pull feeling. So like your knee is pushing into your ankle and your ankle pushes into your knee and hands. And then switch to the other ankle over the other knee. Grab behind the knee, pull in towards one shoulder, push with the ankle. Push, pull. Push, pull, ticking towards these different directions to find some different tissues to stretch and open and create a little more responsiveness in. And 1 more moment. And then you can roll off the reformer to the side and take one of the springs off so you just have 1 red spring. And we'll put the foot guard down to the second from the bottom. And we're working on a plank position. So the L of your hand is going to be by the shoulder rest so that your hand can't slide forward. You can kneel on the carriage, but what I want to see is your escape strategy. So if you put 1 ball of the foot on the bar, push the carriage all the way out, find your hands under your shoulders, and then once you're there, lift the other foot into your plank, set 1 leg down, set one knee down, then extend that leg, then set the other knee down. So you're trying to just alternate between legs so that you're sure you know how to escape. And then find your plank and hold your plank. Take a few breaths there. And when you need to, take a break by bringing that knee down, bringing the carriage in. And one more time, pressing out, connect, hold, hover. Take a few breaths there, connecting the glutes, connecting the low abs, feeling long through the spine. And then bringing the knees back in. For this exercise, in some ways, I think it's easier when you start to move the carriage because then it's less obvious when your torso changes. So do one more set where you try to keep the carriage totally still and you press out. Try to keep the hands under the shoulders, ankles stay the same. And if you want to do something, you could do a little push-up without moving the carriage. Little push-up. Bending the elbows, lift the neck in line with the spine. And when you've started to lose your endurance, you can come off of there and you're all done. Do your single thigh stretch to finish, but good job.